She's a collaborator with me in my brand. She turns 5 years of age today. Today is her birthday. And my one and only child. And she's teaching me a lot about how to love emotionally and to be emotional. And it's an honor to be chosen by her because she's teaching me how to love with my heart and not with my mind.
Your work is so beautiful and you're becoming so prolific. But to back up a couple steps, I think what kept you going in prison? How did you stay positive? What were the tools that you had that kept you moving forward?
Looking back on it now, I don't know how I did it, but definitely literature and the arts. So I did a lot of reading. I was blessed to have a mom that worked at the Library of Congress. So whatever literature that I learned about, that I could think about, anything that had ever been copywritten, my mom could just go downstairs at her job, Xerox it, and mail it to me. So that was a privilege. And letter writing, just starting love letters, just being lonely in prison, listening to old rhythm and blues music, writing letters, writing music, like rap music. And that was really what always kept me sane, because I think the creativity was fueling my imaginative capital, right? And I always like to refer to your imagination as like your image nation. And so if you can manufacture with your eyes closed, a vision for a better life, even in the midst of a harsh reality, I think you can attract people, places, and things inside of yourself and outside of yourself, that those moments where you get dark and get pessimistic, you can always just get that optimism and that hope. But that definitely what kept me going. I didn't do drugs. I didn't have sex. I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't gamble. I just worked out, so I could say fitness, wellness, definitely prayer, spirituality, and creativity. I wrote 11 books when I was in it, and countless short stories and poetry that I never published.
How did you first learn about Basquiat, and how did he influence you?
I first learned about Jean-Michel Basquiat through listening to Jay-Z. I'm a huge Jay-Z listener, fan, and I didn't know what Jay-Z was talking about because he name drops a lot of stuff culturally that a lot of African Americans were not aware of. And so as his brand was growing, I kept hearing him referencing Banksy, bitches, Basquiat. I'm like, what is he talking about? Right? And so, and being in prison, I had no access to social media, the internet, so I couldn't Google search anything. And but one day I kept a subscription to the Wall Street Journal for 15 of the 22 years I was incarcerated, and they had an article about Basquiat. And they didn't have any images of his work, it just was an image of him. And me seeing who is this black guy that overdosed on heroin at the age of 27, and I just finished reading Jimi Hendrix's book, who died at that age, and I just never knew that the art world had that type of reference for someone who looked like me.
How has his work influenced your artwork today?
I think when you look at my trajectory to the visual art, beginning as in music, and then poetry, and Jean-Michel, he had a rock band, he DJ'd, he did fashion, and he wouldn't draw images when he would do graffiti, street art. He just would write quotes and rhetorical questions and poetry. And so once me getting out and getting in contact with his work and seeing the text base of it, the philosophy of it, it gave me the courage, because I used to always tell people in prison, like, I want to paint, but I don't know how to draw. So that fear of people's judgment of me, my ability to not, my inability to draw figuratively killed my confidence to try. And when I saw his work and the rawness of it, I liked it, even if nobody else didn't like, even if he wasn't famous, I just liked his work. And it gave me the confidence that once the quarantine presented itself to me, that I had the courage to try. Because I knew I couldn't paint like Picasso or Basquiat or Warhol or Rembrandt, but I could paint like me. I could draw like me.
How was your mindset once you were released from prison?
Very, it's the same mindset today. Very focused, very intense, very consistent, and like I don't party, I don't drink, I don't smoke. The only thing that, and this is how I was the first day I got out. Like my dad would tell you, I was like, I just want an iPad, an iPhone, and a MacBook, and an iMac, and I just want to work. And that was like the first thing I did, you know, like got these weapons of mass construction that I call them, and just very eager to contribute to wellness in the world. Just eager and urgent.
No anger?
Of course, when I drive during rush hour, I'm human.
But no anger after having served 22 years for a crime you didn't commit?
No, not anger. I just think I had low expectations for America when it comes to someone that's socially constructed as black male. I don't have high expectations for America, so I don't feel like the system failed me. It was an injustice, and I felt anger at the beginning, but I've always had low expectations for America in relation to me. And I always knew that a college degree or making money wouldn't change that. Like, I had to create a space for myself, curated by myself, where I could be valued and I could create value.
Has your creative voice helped you to manage your trauma?
I was recently speaking to someone. It's like, when we were growing up, this is the power of words, right? We had no access to that word. Like, so I speak to people like about how I failed in my marriage, right? Because I never had access to the term emotional availability. So I had my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my dad. No man in my family ever told me that I had to be emotionally available to a woman. I had to provide and protect. And so trauma, once I had access to that word, which I didn't learn it until I was in prison, I can say that it didn't help me to manage it, it helped me to transcend it. I don't want to manage trauma. I want to transcend it and alchemize it into golden opportunities to create value in perpetuity. And so trauma to me is something that's just a catalyst for transcendence, not nothing to manage.
What was your first project once you were released from prison?
My first project was, I did a spoken word poem at an event that Deloitte was having about people, vulnerable segments in the labor force in the future. And my counselor at the jail, she got me booked for that before I got out. It was at American University. I wasn't even familiar with Deloitte, how big they were, or what they were. But, and it was my first opportunity to open up an event, do a spoken word piece, and they allowed me to set up a table with my books to sell my books. And that's when I learned about Zelle and PayPal and Cash App and putting the swipe thing on your phone. This before they had the tap pay. This was 2019. So it was a very monumental event for me in a lot of different ways.
How did you learn about the Art for Justice grant?
I learned about Art for Justice from, I became an ambassador for Represent Justice, which was initially, it was an initiative that Scott Budnick had started. And Scott Budnick is a director, movie director, humanitarian activist, philanthropist, who directed like the, I forgot the name of those movies, where the guys get drunk and they go to Vegas, like 3 of them, Hangover. But Scott, he executive produced the film Just Mercy about Brian Stevenson, who did a lot of work on death penalty cases and juvenile lifers. And so I was like an ambassador for them when I first came home, and every ambassador received a grant, like a $40,000 grant from Art for Justice. And then that's when I learned about Aggie Gunn, her daughter Kat, her generosity in selling her Liechtenstein and giving all the money away. And then I ended up receiving another grant from them. But that was my initiation as a Represent Justice ambassador, which is now a nonprofit organization.
And how did your words get transformed from the spoken word to the canvas?
That's a great question. I think that the practice of mindfulness and non-judgment, mindfulness, like just being fully present in the moment, but non-judgment is so important because me judging my ability to draw figuratively is what prevented me from getting to the canvas for 40 years, right, of my life. And so now, being a little bit more developed in that practice of non-judgment and mindfulness, it allowed me to get out of the way of myself and to take this skill that I had developed from the age of 11, freestyle rapping, to writing music, to poetry, to spoken word, from the age of 11 to the age of now, which I'll be 45 soon. And that's like 34 years of experience. But even when I was 40, that was like 29 years of experience of just this relationship with words. And so the non-judgment part and the mindfulness, being present and removing the fear and the judgment and just allowing the words to come through me and to share space with unique iconography and color.
Lindsay, that's like the perfect bite
That was
right
amazing.
there, because it like encapsulates so much what we're trying to show.
Yeah.
What's next for Helene Flowers?
I think if you would have asked me that question in February 2020, I would have told you I'm going to South by Southwest in April. I'm going to do spoken word. Got a documentary coming out with Kim Kardashian. I would have told you everything but painting. And if you would have told me, no, you're going to be a painter, you're going to exhibit your art in Paris, you're going to be commissioned by the Queen of England, you're going to do a painting at the Royal Wedding in Norway, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Like that. It's no way, right? So I don't know how to paint, I don't know how to draw. So what's next for me is just wellness, mindfulness, non-judgment, and continuing to stretch my elasticity and creatively curating beautiful things and experiences, from a space of mindfulness, non-judgment, wellness. And so it may be music, it may be sculptures, it may be sneakers, I don't know. And I think that's the beauty of life, is being open to not knowing what's next, but being committed to a loving intention, no matter where you find yourself.
How did you get selected to be an Obama 2025, 2026 leader?
Well, that's the answer. I did, for one, I didn't want to apply, right? I think I have a perspective that I need to change about fellowships in artist residencies, because I feel like by me being able to commercially sustain myself in my career, I often feel like I'm taking opportunities from people who can't. And so a lady that I met, who's a friend and a collector, I met her last year at a talk I did at Clark Law School, Lewis and Clark Law School in Portland, Oregon, an event that I did in conjunction with attorney Ben Crump. And she started collecting my art, buying my fashion. So she hit me one day, it was like I was in Chicago with some people from the Obama Foundation. I told them about you. I think you should apply. I was like, I don't. She was like, well, I think you should. So I did it, and I forgot about it. And then I had a call with them. And when I had the call with them, I was like, oh, I might get this. Like, I wasn't prepared to, like, and then once I knew what the commitment would take, and then I just happened to be on a Zoom with my team 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, and they was telling me about something that was happening at the Lockman Museum, and it was like, look, this guy, he's real cool with Obama, and I looked him up, and I was like, oh, he was the Obama founder. Let me check my email, and that's when I saw that I was accepted. So I'm excited about it.
What do you hope your journey teaches people about mass incarceration?
That's a good question. I hope that my journey teaches people the power of mindfulness, wellness, non-judgment, that if we can create a village, because Hillary Clinton wrote a book, It Takes a Village. It's from an African proverb. It takes a village to raise a child. But simultaneously, she was calling children super predators. And so, and I don't say that because I think people misconstrue, like I don't like Hillary Clinton. Like I don't know Hillary Clinton. Like I've said and done things in the past and I've evolved. I think it's a journey, but I think that what people can see from my journey is that wellness, mindfulness, non-judgment allow me to endure a horrific, inhumane experience as a child and to still to come out and be a very creative, productive, loving human being. And we need to think about the other Harlem Flowers, male or females, who may or may not make a mistake. They're accused of doing something, and it could be something fatal, something terrible. And whether they are guilty or not, they can be salvaged, especially when they're children. If you don't get anything else from my journey, it's like children are malleable. They still have their elasticity, their room to grow. It sets their environment, and if they come from a non-productive environment, that we just as we galvanize to save other countries around the world, we send our resources there, our military. I think we should galvanize to save our children.
Very good. And finally, I think you've kind of answered this. What message you would like your art to convey to the world?
I hope it conveys authenticity. If I could just wrap it up in one word. And the reason why I say that is because it's definitely unconventional. It's not premeditated. I didn't know what I would come and paint. But it's me. I'm not afraid to be me. And no matter what we do in life, we can't control how others will critique or judge what we say and what we do, what we believe. but you still have to have the strength to be yourself. You know, in a world that convinces you to be everyone else. And so I hope that people can look at my art and just see that it's just me, and that it's okay just to be yourself.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Anything I didn't ask or that you'd like to say that I overlooked?
Probably once I ponder on it for a minute.
Did you get a couple 2 shots just in case?
Yeah, I was trying to get some different angles here. But
Okay.
yeah, I think that was incredible.
You did awesome. You've done this before. Uh-oh.
I'm just being me. I think it's the easiest thing in the world to be, but you know, I've been doing the work for 45 years on just, you know, just figuring out who am I really, not what like my parents and my community want me to be. Who am I, and how can I just become a better version of myself?
You're doing it.
Yeah.
You are. Awesome.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh.
That was great.
I was like, there were multiple times I'm like, am I gonna cry? Oh my goodness.